Now that you're at war, end of game. 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 Yeah. It is the end of the time. Yahweh will not bless the nation that has gone astray. Blood sacrifice in the bay, children gunned down. Do we ever learn who it is and what they want? Now that you're at war, end of game. 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 End of game. Now that you're at war, end of game. End of game. We see them here, we see them there, the epic of creation and destruction. Blood are not tears, torture is not joy, stalking is not something of goodness and God. Love and peace everywhere cannot abide, it must subside. It comes through the same place of fear. Fear of the other, fear of me, fear of you, and the absence of love. Yeah. Yeah. Don't wake up. Don't you wake up. Satan, God, choices. Love, now that you're at war, end of game. Where is love? That you're at war, end of game. Peace is not war, love is not hate, stalking is not friendship. Now that you're at war, end of game. Now that you're at war, end of game, end of game, end of game, end of game, end of game. Greetings, in the name of the Most High. Hello. It's been a bit of time waiting for things to develop. So last night I had dreams of Civil War and, to a lesser extent, World War III, which we seem to be in now. And I've, been sort of gauging the response of people that I see online and how they're, reacting to everything, which they're obviously not coping very well, because these things are very disturbing, especially when you look at, millions being killed in the U.S., tremendous bloodbath, but, big body counts, mass graves. So in the dream, there was a, we were kind of in a state of martial law, and, there are roads going here and there, but you can't rely on any kind of law enforcement to help you. And this may have been based on something I saw, in a news thing where these people they cut in front of a Tesla. A woman in her 60s was driving a Tesla. Not sure what model it was, but yeah, a sedan, I guess, of some kind. And they cut her off, pulled her over, and they went up to her window. Her window was 3/4 down, and the guy just started punching her in the face. So there wasn't like, lady, you need to get rid of this car. It's now to the state of punching in the face. And then I was in Albuquerque for the Albuquerque Film Festival. And it's a little fun kind of festival on Central Avenue in Albuquerque. And, they really do need a film festival. They need one much bigger than that. But it's, in an old art house theater, and, like they show all the kind of movies I really love there, But just down the street, like as we were leaving, they had that. And then they had a little party down at the one of the hotels, had a bar, restaurant thing. So down there for the after we screened our film, and then that was fine. And then I had to get in the car. I have to have a driver because of visual acuity, but also because I'm currently handicapped and leg wise. So the driver we had, he was actually, I invited him in to watch the film, and he really liked it. But then he went and got his car, and loaded my my yellow electric, Bumblebee chair in there. And we saw in the distance a lot of whirring lights, lights, just like red lights and, the emergency lights. And so we had to go around. So we went around another way. I'm not sure exactly how we went, because I fell asleep, but we ran around another way to avoid the traffic on, the police on Central. And then this morning I read that somewhere overnight, and this is, later in the timeline, that the GOP headquarters was firebombed. And of course, the left traditionally throughout history have the Jacobins, the Marxists, who are the same as the leftists. They're all the same, the French revolutionaries, whatever, using violence to affect political means. I feel very detached from it because I don't really feel connected to Republicans, or, as I said, I don't think Republicanism is a solution. I don't really think, of course, Democrats, violence is not a solution. And the irony of the political fight now, it's so absurd that it's really hard to even take it seriously for me. I mean, it's the idea of one party is pro-electric cars to save the planet and save this and save that, all this virtue signaling with the electric cars. And then Elon turns out to be somebody that is protecting the United States economy, and therefore he has to be firebombed. And his people that have bought these Teslas years ago, who know nothing about any of this, they need to be beaten. And then the next thing I saw was that there are people heading out on the road, and what they were trying to find out is whether people were MAGA or not. And if they're MAGA, then they would just shoot the whole family, the kids, the parents, and haul them out and throw their bodies in mass graves. And if they weren't, they could keep driving. In other words, these are roadblocks that these guys have set up, having the fact that these people, the Jacobins, if you will, they're not really the Democrats, but they're acting under the Democrat name, and they call anyone that's for freedom would be a fascist. So the opposite is, the double speak is very much part of their repertoire. So they're working with the American government and the Venezuelan government to enact violence and to take over the United States and destabilize it. And of course, that's taking it away from Trump. Now, what's very interesting about all this is that there are people not implementing any of Trump's policies, and they vowed, okay, we're going to get you, sooner or later. And what they're doing is they're just they're ramping up the violence and the idea that if you try to enforce any law of Trump, you will be killed. It's that simple. So this is how our civil war is today. It's really a fifth generation warfare, according to General Flynn, more like World War III globally, but then locally it's more civil war. So it's almost like both are going on. And then I saw, death tolls like 50 million, 100 million, things like that, very soon too, like right away. And, depending on how things go at this point, it was very disturbing. And I've had dreams like this before of, like say nuclear wars and different things, which nothing happened yet. But it's it's something that I believe that people are not ready for. There's a bunch of people online that are pushing the narrative of that they seem to think that if you don't believe that Yahweh is a false god, I mean, and this is a little bit of a spiritual thing, or that these were false gods, and that they're pushing that Lilith was the true goddess, or the true being of whatever, and they would point out that God would never kill or order killed any of his people or something. Whatever kind of proof they offer is their opinion. It's not proof at all. And that anyone that believes in anything that was before is a cuck. And anyone that believes in, which is usually the New Age sort of extrapolation of information, that the Bible's false, Jesus is false, the thing is false. And then we get into this idea of the simulation being true, and that's where we may have a parallel, except but you don't, because that simulation, and here's the fault with these people that are taking over the internet, their assumption of a simulation is false because there's some mystery behind it, and you can escape it through meditation, through manipulation of consciousness. And the answer is, of course, that they're still here. They haven't done shit. They're just liars. And when they say that, Yahweh is false, the great I am is false, the creator is false, they're lying. And yet they're so arrogant, it's really unbelievable. And I see this spirit is the same as the spirit that goes upon the earth just before the annihilation of billions, just before the biggest bloodbath in the history of all time. And it's triggered by this attitude, and by people that have that attitude are and pushing their I guess anti-Christian hate. I guess that's what it would be, or anti-Bible hate, or anti
well, especially because it's tied to Israel, Yahweh tied to the Jews. So obviously that's all false. And they promote this other religion. Then you say, well, what do you do to practice your faith? Or they meditate. And then they claim that they're obsessed with things like Tartaria, the civilization was before this one, and that a great flood wiped it out, and then the earth was void, and then it's all, and it's like, you see, you cucks, you don't believe in in this obvious stuff. It's like, no, the Bible's got plenty of proof that there was a civilization here before, because the earth needed to be replenished after, the great flood, and whatever civilizations were here were gone by the time Genesis begins. And it implies a prior civilization, prior, humans upon the earth, etc. No one's trying to take that away. I'm not. In fact, the people that block Antarctica are really the Nazis. So, all of this is skewed as well. And they don't want the people to have any kind of mobility, because if these people knew anything, then they would be mobile. And they're not mobile. They're not mobile because they don't, they just sit there every day pretending to meditate on their little, TikTok thing, calling everybody, but themselves stupid. I guess they're pushing the gay agenda too, or whatever agenda. I don't know, some bacchanal thing that they believe is that everyone should want to do. And it's sort of like classic earth dweller. These are classic earth dwellers. And I would say this, they will never come to reason. They will never understand the truth. They will always believe they have the truth and everyone else is stupid. And so they will continue on laughing like hyenas until God kills them. Why would God kill them? Well, until let's say an act of God, circumstances, another flood, a global fire, a comet hitting the earth, a nuclear war, whatever, take your pick, but people that are truly interested in mobility, and that is, getting out of this situation, we realize there's a way that the Lord left for people to get out, the way, the truth, and the life, and especially called the way. The way is a narrow way, and I wouldn't call people cucks that go on the narrow way. I would call them great heroes, because they take a lot of flack and a lot of shit from ignorant assholes like the guy that I'm describing here. And it's and it's okay. There's a few of these people out there, and I don't know why they wound up on my radar screen. It was kind of like, here I'm seeing a bloodbath on the one hand, and then the Lord is showing me, and here's the cause that these people show up. And apparently it's like taking an attitude of the volcano's raging. Oh, it won't hurt me. And you're dancing on the tip of the volcano, and everyone say, hey, get out of there, it's going to blow. And you go, come on, you cucks, you cowards. I'm dancing, man. I'm taking my clothes off. I'm dancing in the flames. Ha ha, look at that. And then it blows up, of course, and kills everybody. And fair warning went out, but nobody heeded, because they're so arrogant in their own lives, feeling that humanity is somehow superior to everything, to everything. And humanity is not superior to creation, not superior to creator, not superior to the creation itself, but a part of it. Anyway, it's I don't want to waste any more time on this. It's just that I have to spend time deleting and blocking and making sure I don't get that content, because I tend to sometimes get triggered and want to answer, and I say something snarky, and then they all jump on me of it being some kind of retarded heathen, who doesn't know what's going on. And it's like, no, I don't really understand why you would want to stand on the earth, a fleeting life, and then defend yourselves. No, I don't understand how that could happen, especially when you talk about life being a simulation and the Matrix. and then you found out the real truth about all the, the real gods and all the lies in the Bible, and you've debunked all that. Now you're really the guys on the cutting edge. You really know what reality is, and everybody else is an idiot. And so that kind of arrogance does tend to get me wanting to fight. But then again, it's everything I say is pearls before swine, because they don't believe anything I say. In fact, the same people, will hear my testimony in the documentary Dark Side of Society, how I came to write Society. It really doesn't matter what I say as my testimony. What matters is that the trauma led me, if you think I'm just exercising demons, that's fine. It led to writing of a cult classic film. And so it's kind of interesting from a forensic point of view. No one's asked, but because it deals with what they so try to debunk, Satanism, satanic ritual abuse, which goes to child trafficking, pedophilia, blackmail, the Diddy thing, Epstein, all that stuff is true. It's all true. And even aspects of, Podesta, Hillary, Pizzagate, all that stuff, that was all true too. I mean, it's all awful. And then they come up with their answer to it all, which is things like satanic panic, and that so one person had an experience, all of a sudden everybody was having these hidden memories and all of that. And then they muddy the waters. Even the Menendez brothers, who might have gotten out, except that things went to more law. We're going to punish those criminals. So they've been in there 38 years after killing their parents. And their defense was the fact that they were abused, and they also felt their lives were in danger from being poisoned. And the jury and the LA Times and everyone just laughed at that and said, the abuse excuse, huh? They're a couple of spoiled brats, and they're going to do all this time. So they lost with OJ, because OJ, we all know OJ did it, right? And then got away with it. So, and had no other circumstances except he was, in some kind of jealous cocaine rage. And, and then that was the end of his girlfriend or her friend or whatever. And, so they lost that one. So they had to get those Menendez boys in prison because they couldn't lose two. And so it's like, the abuse excuse, huh? Whereas OJ was like, mistaken. He took the defense of mistaken identity. I think that he does, his hand doesn't fit that glove. It couldn't possibly have been him that wielded the knife. There are no witnesses. But with the Menendez brothers, they admitted, of course, eventually that they used shotguns bought from the Big Five sporting goods store, and slew their parents for fear that they were going to be hurt, for fear that they're going to be further abused with sodomized and just groped and sexed and all that. And then also that there was a danger in the food being prepared, which in a situation like that, where you have these, it's kind of like I guess I could just say the sodomy network, is it's the network of what we might call Satanism, but it's not the formal Satanism like you think of worshiping the devil. It's Satanism like a theme, that involves the whole bacchanal, do what thou wilt, the worship of fame and money, and being on the side of what Proverbs 1 says, let's have, of what Proverbs 1 calls the club of sinners. And they have one purse and it's shared. People say, well, where do they get all the money to defend all, say Democrats? Since they are that club, they're the left-handed path. So where do they get it? It's well, we now know that all the money came from taxpayers. and that they basically steal all the money from the taxpayers and then complain they need more taxes. And people continue to elect people that behave that way because the people that are electing them, also get a piece of the take. They have one purse, but if you join them, you get a benefit too, a money benefit. So you're willing to sell out your fellow humans, sell out your mother and father, take the handout, and then be forever their slave, and then die on cue and make room for the next generation. So the cities in America, I mean, I think with that in place, you can make the case there never has been in America the way we thought of it, which was based on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. There's been a surface view of America, but the real America has been dictated from underneath, from the world underneath this one, from the shadow world. And that world is the left-handed path, which anyone can join, and people join it because they get, like I say, usually a handout. Kids get into private school. The musician gets to play in a big name band. The actor gets to be on Broadway. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? They're all sons, daughters, and grandsons and granddaughters of the people who are connected to this system. And this system, I like to call it just the Nazi system, since it all goes back to the Nazis. And that, so the people leading these, like George Soros is like a classic Nazi, you know what I mean? In every way, right? Killing the Jew, taking property from the Jews, killing the whole family, and then taking the money and it goes into the pot for the Nazis. Anyway, the money goes into the pot. So the Menendez brothers, in my view, fell victims to the system that basically operates in every city in America. And that system runs, LA is known for that. In fact, bringing people like, Disney to LA, and, these powerful people, and getting, I say Disney, but I'm just thinking because Disney wound up with all the money and, spending $260 million, on Snow White, and then having it bomb just for DEI, and all that DEI, all that stuff is a smokescreen to eventually allow pedophilia to run free, to be a bit open in this society, which is that's what all the little clubs that they have for human rights are really designed to let the beast out, which would be sex with anything. Well, really do what thou wilt and have it be in the open. And I suppose that would also include murder. People murder people. They go, oh, well, the judge lets them go. It's all part of the same system. Yes, lawless, thievery. And the target is the hardworking American taxpayer who is none the wiser, who is trying to stick by the Constitution, trying to stick by the rule of law, thinks they have this country, and is paying an exorbitant amount in taxes. I mean, once you get up the ladder beyond, that first payment of, I guess, what is it now? Trump's reduced it to $150,000. Below that, you don't pay anything. So these protests then would be protesting then lower taxes. They'd be protesting government waste and abuse, the stopping of government waste and abuse. So there'd be more money in the Social Security Trust Fund, and guaranteeing entitlements will go out, guaranteeing Medicaid, Medicare, all that. They're against Medicare. They're against Medicaid. They are against diversity, because DEI is for exclusion, not inclusion. But also it has another hidden benefit, is to eventually, through the trans community, welcome, that's an angle, a loophole to get 2 children through the trans situation. And then we've had the trans thing for a long time. There's been, like, if you go to other countries, if you go to Mexico, you'll notice that the trans hookers are out there, and they're very, very popular. It's very, very popular. They've been popular. They used to call them transsexuals, but it's very, very popular for whatever reason. he called it the human condition. It's never really supposed to be a gateway to children. But now when you have people transitioning when they're, say, before they're 8 years old, because usually the sexual conditioning, like the kind of stuff that I went through, seemed to be they were trying to condition us to be sexualized before we were 8 so that we would comply. And that way we could move up the ladder and be trusted, with all their shit. Because once you agree to that level of secrecy and, blackmailability, then you also will look the other way on murder, lying, the whole bit. You'll basically play the game, as it were. And that's how you get an entire. So when we say, well, Hollywood is corrupt, well, LA is corrupt. Hollywood, what's the most corrupt thing in LA? The casting couch or Raytheon? I mean, Raytheon used to be there. I think they used to be in Oxnard, or Boeing. Boeing left, but they used to be there too. All that military industrial stuff used to be there because my grandfather was all involved in that. And they all had the same rules. They're all connected through Bohemian Grove and the Bohemian Club in San Francisco, and then various clubs, all Masons, high degree Masons. I actually inherited my grandfather's library of everything to do with Mason, the whole thing on Masonry and all his Masonic cufflinks and whatever else they had to signal to each other that they were in the club. And it's a big club, and you're not in it. And most garden variety Masons aren't in it either, because it involves self-corruption of a spiritual nature that is recorded by the psychic computers, which are the very powerful AI that's been here. I guess it's symbolized by the all-seeing eye. And it basically watches every single person and everything you do and say, not to support you so much, but to tattle on you to the Lord, to say, this guy's, don't save this one. This one's a waste. He's looking at it. He's a sinner. Look what he does in secret, So there is, I'm simplifying and making it like a child can understand, but it's, but these are kind of serious concepts. And with all this, okay, so I guess back to trying to be, cohesive here and how we got to World War III. All of what I'm talking about leads to, like, for example, led to World War II. Okay. And then, that's where all these companies, the, aerospace and defense companies, defense contractors, that's where they really excel in, in feeding the economy is when there's war. Then they can overcome all the theft that they've had of the collective purse. Now, the collective purse right now, according to it may be as much as $100 trillion, and it may even be more. And you say, well, where do they get the money for these black ops and the CIA and going here and going there, doing this and doing that? Where does all that, running these candidates now? They're spending up to $100 million for local state senate races and things like that. And where do they get the money for this? And I tell them it's unlimited, and go look in Proverbs 1 and you'll see it's written right there what the game is, what the I suppose the unfortunate wording is, they say, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not, which from the hero, it's like sinners, though, in that context, indicates the club of sinners, a closed organization of sinners. So if this collective of sinners invites you in, which means, you've got talents they want, do not consent to it. And usually young men, young women, they will consent. And the women consent because, they appeal to, feminine instincts of having a hearth and family and having to raise kids. So there's a guarantee of security there. And so for the men, the same thing, it's like not being hunted, not being gang stalked. You don't think gang stalk started in a modern era. It was going on it's gone on from the very beginning. It's people that don't conform get stalked. And they may even know they're not conform. They may not even know anything about any of this, but they get targeted anyway because they know who's in, who's out, who's hot, who's not. In fact, if you cross over, that's a big spiritual event, and the whole world shakes, the whole universe shakes when something like that happens, because that was here, then the mountain moved to there. I mean, this some people consider it to be an incredible miracle that Sonny Boy finally figured it out, and then he joined the Sinners Club, which then regretted after maybe the 15th murder. He was like, "Yeah, this is not really, I think it feels bad." And so you wonder, well, what is the remedy? And of course, the remedy for that specifically, and the remedy for the what the Buddhists call the Dharma wheel, for the Buddhist problem of a constant reincarnation with no way to escape, with the problem being desire, is what actually keeps us in the wheel, keeps us in this existence, keeps us being recycled and fed off of, okay, by archons, demons, entities, the real AI, which has always been here, all that. And so they frown very much on people that don't offer their soul up. And they say, if you don't give me respect, like Somebody for the Devil is playing again out there, the Rolling Stones, I think in a series called Mobland. So they're being bold with that. And basically in the lyrics, it's like, if you don't pay me deference, if you don't pay me respect, I'm going to lay your soul to waste. But the Bible then says, don't fear the one that can hurt the body, fear the one that can hurt the soul. Fear the one that can hurt the soul. The devil cannot hurt the soul. You can lose it though, but you would have to give it to lose it. You would have to consent to it to lose it. You would have to be initiated with consent, like it's like a wedding ceremony, in order to give it up. And that initiation can be a group of guys on a hunting trip, fishing trip, a formal temple, a campfire, whatever. If everyone is part of that except for one kid, eventually they're going to let that kid know what's going on, and the kid will have to be, at the very least, join the sexual antics of the group, with the proviso that he is just like being a pledge in a fraternity, right? He now has to work his way up the ladder. So maybe he's got to do this or that, to embarrass himself in the beginning, but then it moves up to things like what one friend I had was, he was running guns, drugs, and assassinations to Nicaragua, and I believe that was under Reagan, but it was like a schoolmate that I had that I heard that's what he was up to. I'm like, does that? No, because all these kids that are in this club, all belong to the intelligence agencies. The intelligence agencies run the entire thing. And then, so they end up, so in this kid that I knew, he ended up working for the CIA. And, he's running remember the Sandinistas and the cocaine and all that, so he was all involved in that in the 80s. So, it's, that's fine. Did it help him live? He's also passed away now. Did that help him? Did it, no, he passed away and he's forgotten. But he did all that because, that's what you do. That's what the kids do. You take your place in the CIA, where you belong, because that's where all your cousins and brothers and extended family, your bloodlines are, in these intelligence agencies, which then, in turn run the world. And, why would they be against Trump? The problem people have with Trump is they know that he was, probably initiated into Masonry and all that, and it was a part of all this. And I could just say he's not stupid. He knows about all this stuff. But there are people that genuinely try to reform, and that's the whole point of Jesus. It's a narrow path out of this situation. I don't know any other way. If I did know another way out, I would tell you. I swear, I promise you. If you could do it through meditation and like calling everybody a cuck that disagrees with you, that the Bible is false, and just basically an apology for witchcraft, and for blatant pedophilia, homosexuality, bacchanalia, do what thou wilt. So I guess that would include murder, drugs, whatever, the whole basket of sin that people want to do. And that's covered in our society by these intelligence agencies and by the fact that everyone's connected through blood. This is like a family thing. Unless someone's invited in, then they become a starter. That can happen too. But the point is to have the whole world, and so the world cannot rebel. And so when we look at Los Angeles, and I'm telling my testimony, and I'm like, my main sin was I was, spilling the beans about sexual abuse, and for that, and then not wanting to join the Satanists, telling them no, fuck no, right? And then the wrath of the system against me, and what happened to me, and the trauma it put me through, and the fact that it ruined my life. They ruined my life. And if my life was to become, you go to school, you go to college, join the right fraternity. You go to grad school, preferably law school. You join the firm. You're groomed. And then comes your time of, another initiation for that, where you're blackmailed, where you have to self-corrupt. I was watching one series that had self-corruption in it, and it was a white supremacist, the Aryan, all these cults, the Aryan Brotherhood, Black Lives Matter, all these little groups, they're all part of the same thing. There's no, the Aryan Brotherhood and the Mexican Mafia are in the same club. It's only one club, one. And so, that what we're here to do, and I wouldn't say it's the only purpose of man really is to find out the truth, i.e., that God's real, and to, bow down to God, to fear God, to worship God, to set God as that absolute reference point in relation to you, which is also called worship. That putting yourself in that position is worship. Whether just not endless repetition of some words or something. So, and then and then here we are, where we're in a form of World War III now. We're actually just in World War III now. I might as well just call it what it is. We're in World War III now, and we're about to go nuclear, and also we're about to go civil war. Again, I had seen these thugs, the ones burning down the Teslas, blocking roads, going to or from somewhere, and just questioning people. Are you MAGA? Nope. Okay, you can go through. Are you MAGA? You see, hey, there's a MAGA hat back in the back. Okay, and they blow your face off with a shotgun, and then they blow the whole family away, including the kids. Throw them in a mass grave and laugh while they put salt on it, to cull the stench. That's going to be bad when they just take a truck full of people. Like this is what they used to do with the Jacobins used to do with the guillotine. They would get a truckload of people that they felt might have been loyal to Antoinette or loyal to Louis XVI, and they load them up on the truck and they bring them to the guillotine, and they just one by one, they don't ask them, whether they're guilty or not. They just behead them one after the other, based on a rumor. And it can get to be that way with killing. I don't like the way this guy looks. So this guy's wearing he's wearing a red jacket, kill him, boom, blow his head off. Of which the movie Civil War was a template for this war to occur. They would I guess it would be MAGA versus MAGA, MAGA, what is MAGA? MAGA is really, I guess, conservatives or people that want to live by the rule of law and the Constitution, limited government, peace through strength, lower taxes, whatever, just, um, and I don't know if it's even possible to have something like that right now. It seems to me with even with Trump in there, you start to see that there are so many of them. There's so many people who are so filled with hatred, and it's got nothing to do with electric cars, Green New Deal, any of that stuff. They don't care. Now that Elon has the Tesla, that will now all electric cars are bad. It's just like, saving the economy is bad. Saving Medicare is bad. Saving, Social Security, and then not taxing people on their Social Security, which is a big benefit for people that are really struggling. No, they're against that. They're against all those policies. So they would be pro DEI, pro overtaxation, pro poverty, no growth, pro ignorance with the lowest number 40 in the world in terms of education. People not be able to graduate because they can't read or write or do arithmetic. And so it's that the group that wants to bring humanity to its knees and to nothing but degradation and perversion and disgust and just a pile of garbage of unproductive suffering things versus people that want to have some reason to live, something to do, something to build, something to achieve. It's clear that the people that are out there yelling at Christians that they're all wrong, evil, and stupid and all that, and that they worship Tartaria. And it's like, dude, if you were in Tartaria, you wouldn't lift a fucking finger because you don't build anything. You do nothing. That's what they would do. They like to know, see, it's there. It proves that all our history is wrong. Fine, but you would not be worthy of being there because you'd have to be some kind of builder, or be wanting to build something or to make something to be of value. So you wouldn't be, since you do nothing except yell and scream at conservatives and cucks, as you call them. So you're fucked, man. Just a hypocrite. And there's just so many people like that. That I doubt very seriously that we're getting out of this without a bloodbath. I mean, the dreams I'm having are pretty horrifying. Would they say, well, what's the answer? Worshiping Jesus? I'm like, well, that's a start. Looking into an earnest view. You see, people don't understand the Bible because they can make a case for contradiction in the Bible, and I know those cases. But there's a greater spiritual aspect to the Bible that goes beyond the written word, and it's almost like a numinous encounter. Numinous meaning encountering the sacred through the book itself, because otherwise we'd be very upset about the Mandela effect, which is basically more fuckery being done to distract people. The biggest growth industry there is in the world is paganism and witchcraft. Those are the people are most enthusiastic about those things, and so they're actually aspiring. Okay, so check this out. So these people are aspiring to wallow in the earth forever because they're earth dwellers. They're not, like I like to consider myself to be like a celestial. I've come in here, but my attention's always on, even this morning, my attention's always on the skies. It's always on the expansion. And I could use some of that right now. And, but only, that it's not like I can just turn it on. I'm not God, And I also trust the Lord to lead me into opening that door, but not that one over there. And that's something that I would just go through any door, before I really understood that there's a legal framework for us returning home. But we have to follow that legal framework, or if we blow that deal, if somehow we cannot be standing before the Lord, as perfect as having done nothing wrong. Okay. Unless we can do that, then we will be forever stuck here, going around. And the way I look at it is people do go around in circles. I mean, and I don't know how long. Sometimes people are meant to go around 1,000 times, to keep repeating the suffering over and over and over again. And some people want to move. And some people love life so much they just want to be reborn in another young body. And this time they're going to do it right, they say. So they're all different. But I've always had my mind on expansive things, because when I am dwelling with corrupt things, I go, why would they be protesting the saving of money, ensuring entitlements, which was usually a liberal cause? And then I can't understand. And so then I want to expand and move on. I don't want to become an earth dweller, I deal with pagans. I have, people that really revere the earth, and they revere, like they make remedies and different things for people. But even they understand that, from their entrepreneurship, that this is the same day doesn't repeat day to day. I mean, the veil is very thin. The reality of this thing that we're in right now is very, very loose. And it's easy to see there's something behind it. There's something out there. And there's something pulling us. And if there was a way to stop the nuclear war and all that, and not go through things, I would do it. But we go through things like heart attacks and sick bouts and hospitalizations and wars and nuclear wars and things. We also go through joy, and the joy of birth, and the joy of fun and things like that too. And there's a kind of a balance, but there's always a line. And when we cross that line, usually begins with jealousy, lust, worship of money, wanting things, wanting and not getting, feeling entitled but being denied and getting obsessed with that. Usually those paths lead to self-imposed hell, and continuation of, being in the Dharma wheel, which is the whole point of Buddhism is to get off the wheel. And the whole point of even Hinduism, or even the Vedas, or all of it is eventually to move on. Even, they say, well, yoga is evil. Well, there is a whole wing of yoga that has to do with spiritual yoga, which is basically detaching from desire for the things of this world and becoming a sannyasin, which is to become a renunciant, to renounce the world and worldly things, and to go on strictly a spiritual path to find the truth, to find the way, and to find life. You need to have truth, way, and life. And then in that same verse, Jesus says, no man comes to the Father except through me. So the Father is the source of all, right? The Creator would be the source of all things. So that's, it's pretty simple. I don't deal with churches just because I'm not really, church material. And, I've been asked to leave several churches because of my gift of prophetic gifts and other kind of spiritual gifts the Lord's given me. It scares them. So I'm told to leave. I'm more comfortable working as a writer and just working my creative work, because there I'm free to do it. And the people that I work with, and I show the wares of, the what our labor has wrought, they seem to really appreciate it. Unlike the people in the churches. They don't appreciate us at all. They hate us. They hate our guts. But and they'll be back, when the documentary comes out. They'll just focus on the my testimony. They won't even focus on what the movie's about, which is about how I ended up writing the screenplay, how I became a screenwriter, and how I wrote the screenplay for Society. And basically, that's, I've told the same story a billion times. And those of you who've been following the podcast, you've also gotten the whole story again and again and again. I don't think it really changes. I think it's, you get the same story because that's what happened. But they just refuse to believe. They just think there's got to be some angle here. And I tell them, and this is what I'm going to tell them in interviews, because there'll be interviews coming up. I don't care if you believe me or not. And I don't care if you believe me on the podcast or not. I don't care. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Nothing. You believe what you want to believe. You believe what you will believe. And that's as far as it goes for me. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I mean, I try to lay on you this beautiful thing that is Christ and the whole purpose of it, because he's completely misunderstood, especially by Christians, which is the big irony. But that's fine. I'm not trying to convince any Christian of anything. I'm not trying to, in the documentary, I don't try to convince anybody of anything. I just want people to understand that, like what's happened to some of the people that went before me. What happened to those whistleblowers that came out of Hollywood, like Isaac Cappy? What happened to him? I knew he was in danger, and then he died. Do you think that he just killed himself? I don't. Or Epstein, or any of them. I mean, why this whole thing has been this, it's almost like, when people get too much information about advanced technology or UFOs, or about, aliens or other civilizations or other things going on in space, or flat earth, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care. But it's interesting how many people get killed. And it's the intelligence agencies that do the killing. Because what they're trying to do is keep the lid on information. If information gets out and people start following it, they could have a real problem. So they tend to be like Herod, eliminating the firstborn, eliminating the male born to that tribe, killing all the males in the village. Why? Because they don't want to be there when Jesus grows up. They want to prevent Christ. Who are the main people? The main people who want to prevent Christ would be the Jews, the Hebrews. Even though they say they long for Messiah, yes, they say that. But the leadership doesn't want the Messiah because they would lose their power. And on it goes, and that's how our system is rigged. LA is particularly interesting to me, though, Los Angeles. And that's because you have, you've got the whole history of how that place began, like where it was in 1930 and where it wound up in 1950, let's say. And in that period of courting various businesses, and I was aware of my grandfather courting various businesses to come there, including, like that's who you go see if you want to, get the wheels smoothed out for you. Come into LA, you'd see the insurance man, they would call him. And he had his fingers in lots of pies. So I guess for a while he was sort of like the Godfather. And then, his time came and went as well. And when his time went, he was very mad about it. He was, beside himself. But he still was like, angry with pretty much everybody, because, he felt that he worked hard on developing his name and being a philanthropic figure and being a positive influence on LA. And he did a lot of virtuous things and virtue signaling. But in the end, I think he regretted all. It was just a show. He was no better than anybody else. In fact, he was worse. But, that was out of the public eye. Somebody wasn't complying, cement shoes. So I think, in terms of sins of the fathers visiting the sons, I do believe that I'm having to pay for his indiscretions, we might call them. And I can't believe how stupid he was about all that. like I guess he felt that this was the system. The problem is people that don't conform should be killed. In other words, if everyone conformed, then everyone would have a nice life. And then you say, listen, what are you conforming to? Pure evil. Trafficking, wars, drugs, fentanyl, all of it. You're consenting to it all. And in exchange for that, you get and gravitas, and you can be a big leader. But then it all comes crashing down because it's not based in reality. It's not on solid ground. It's not based on God. If it's not based on God, it's not going to last. It's going to crumble apart. So now his, I would say the family of the seed died with my daughter. So that's the end of that. The line is extinct. And it's not my fault. I mean, I'm watching it. I believe I'm like the witness, watching the curse of God go forward and actually destroy something that when this family was running and gunning and had wealth and whatever, and they lost it all. But when they did have it, they thought that charity was the way to buy themselves indulgences, to buy their way out of paying for sin. And that was, an incredibly stupid idea. I can't believe that people are that fucking dumb. But that's what we had. And, we're all paying for it. And my final word on it will to the public will be this documentary. I decided to just tell my story about how I came to write that, because writing became a kind of a salvational tool, a way to process terrible trauma. I mean, I was so traumatized and so seeing things, hearing things, and most of them were real, unfortunately. And then, having stalking going on, both general in the background and specific up front, breaking into the house and surveilling and using infrared and cameras and all sorts of things to just make sure that we were on like closed circuit TV 24/7, without let up. And it all had to do with being considered some sort of threat because of what I was saying or writing about when I went on different radio shows. And that was the objection. You can be a Christian as long as you're not real. You can be a human as long as you're not real. As long as your concerns are not real concerns. Say a damn thing you want. But if your concerns are not real, do not expect your lives to go well into death. Do expect to suffer. And do expect to suffer as if, just begging God to kill you, because that's the state you can get into when you feel completely abandoned, when everything just keeps going wrong, when the hyenas, your own family, are feeding on the carcass, which is you. You see how you like that? You see how you like that? Because at the end of the day, I think we all believe in karma, right? The golden rule. People that join that collective are very hostile and mean to the people that don't understand, to the pure hearts out there, many of whom have committed suicide and died that way, like my daughter. There's a price for that. She's paid her price. I paid my price. The eradication, like I said, life ruin, meaning, and I want to say, quote, normal, unquote, life, college, law degree, the club, the 50-yard line, tickets, the cushy corner office, sort of like Adam Sandler and what was it? Not Kiss the Bride. What was it? he had to kiss the girl in front of the whole stadium of people. So he was afraid to have anyone see him kiss, and he had to overcome that phobia of being insecure around other people seeing him kiss the girl. So they made it an issue. As soon as he kissed the girl, they made the satanic. He's in the satanic club, gets the corner office, becomes famous, he gets a raise. Everyone loves him. Everyone cheers him. He's in, and he's happy. And Hollywood, of course, they love that story. All your failures and all your fears and all your angst and all your yearning and all those horrible moments of loneliness and unrequited love and downright hatred could all be turned over in just a second with one trick. It's got to come from you. And they'll tell you that. That's as far as they'll say, well, what do you mean? They'll say, I don't know what I mean. What do you mean? They'll start going like that on you. And they'll put it back on you, which they have to do. If it isn't of your own decision, if it's not of your own free will, it doesn't count. And they all get punished. So they have to tell you that. They're not allowed to tell you the truth. I can tell you the truth, but it doesn't matter if I say it. It matters if one of them who's on the inside says it, then they have violated their oath and they could be killed. That's right. They're deathly afraid of those consequences. They live in fear. Fear is their middle name. But do they really own the fame, the fortune, the moniker of legend? Not anymore. We're kind of going into a time of chaos where all of those ranks, all of those trophies, all of those achievements are just burned in the gutter, just washed down in the mud, in the mudslide, off the cliff with them all. You've done nothing. We're tabula rasa now. We've all our mistakes and all of our good things, everything we've done is wiped clean. Truly, this is a new time. And it's okay to not, I wouldn't be like you and then be rejecting God so quickly and just say the God of the Bible is really, false and all that and call people names. I would, probably look into it, and part of it is intuitive. Part of it has to do with your own mind and your expansive mind that operates in and above of the 3D world. You've got all that, but you don't use it. And the world is full of people that want to, open the potential. Human improvement is really human bondage, though. It's I just say, for everything, seek the Lord, pray often. Be authentic. Be yourself. You want to hear more about the dark side? It comes out on May 13th. It exposes a lot of stuff. In a way, it's not trying to expose things. It's just my testimony for why I couldn't just have a life and I couldn't just be left alone. And they said, well, how long have you been in these incarcerated? And I said, about 7 years, on and off, on and off, more like 10 years. And that was enough to, sort of, and then the moniker of being, having been put away somewhere. You never live that down and you will never get a job when people know that. Especially when they do it because you're too normal. When they do it because you're a normal, rational, intelligent human being. And then they say, well, you should have come to the right conclusion. And they get really angry. And it's like, no, because your conclusion's false. And everybody knows it's false. Yeah, well, I know that, but it'd be a much better world if everyone complied. No, it would not be a better world. There would be no, you wouldn't even be here. You'd be cut down, you'd be cut into ribbons. If everyone complied, your life is gone, Buster. Just know that. I think that's about it for today. Well, I'm very concerned about this violence ramping up now. And all I can tell you is, you're going to have to, those who laughed at those prepping, no, I hope you prepped a little bit, because it may get intolerable to be able to drive down the road, especially if they're doing roadblocks. And with that, I bid you shalom.